Chio, welcome to Cherokee Now. Today we have Lloyd Arneach and Bo Lossiah joining the show. Now, you guys have been hard at work on something very important and are here to share that story today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. Tell me a little bit about your project. What's happening?
Well, go ahead.
Okay, well, about a year ago, Lloyd Arneach, this fella here, he brought us some drafts of the Constitution, several copies, 4 altogether, right?
Yes.
And we took a look at all of them, and Lloyd said, hey, I think it's about time we start taking a serious look at it and putting together some work. Now, he had already done quite a bit, and I was fascinated. Certainly, all the common denominators involved,
right?
The level of consciousness from as far back as the 1800s to now.
Wow!
Everything was included, and there were new issues that needed to be addressed. Recently, we had a discussion at the Birdtown Community Club meeting, and Anita brought up that she said, well, when the governing document was accepted in the 80s, that our current law system was still being worked on.
Right.
We were doing all this new work, and it's not included.
It's not included. It's not up to date.
So I was like, and that was just like one eye opener after another.
Right.
Moments like those little ahas. You go, well, that's something we need to address, and certainly a separation of powers. That's the beginning parts of things. What I like best about it is that it's organic.
Right.
There are people involved. There are thoughts involved, and it's all taken in and conjoined. It's beautiful, really, if you think about it. We just reached a point in history where we need to take a look at this and find out how we want to be governed as a people.
That's right. Now, currently we operate on a charter and operating government document, which is an agreement or a deal kind we have set up with the state of North Carolina. Is that right?
Right.
How many iterations of constitutions have we had through the years and attempts at creating a new one for us that you can remember and recall? Because I know this has been going on for years and years. It seems like every few years we cycle back through constitution attempts. What is your memory of the history of these?
Back in 2011, a committee was formed to do that research, to go through and find all the documents that have been tied towards the governance of the Eastern Band, and they did quite a bit of research, and the information they've come across was really fascinating. I would suggest if anyone is interested in this to go out and find this the result from the Constitution Committee from 2011.
Okay.
It contains all the attempts up to that point.
Okay.
So it includes the 3 versions of Lloyd Welch and the charter in 1907 and all the way up to the 1986 charter and governing document, plus the latest attempts of a constitutional draft.
Okay. Now, a lot of these constitutions feature very similar pieces, components. We tend to consider the 3 separate branches that mimics kind of what the federal government does as kind of the standard that everybody's accepted or wants to kind of work toward. What in this current document that you guys are operating on, what is one of the new features that you're most excited about kind of presenting to the public that we can bring back into this?
Okay. One of the things that the charter and governing document of 86 doesn't include is the judicial branch.
Right.
That is done by code instead of through our governing document.
Right.
So in our draft here, we've included and made sure it has equal power and equal authority as legislative and executive. One of the other things we've included is a pseudo branch of government called Grand Council.
Okay.
Now, I know that's going to be a controversial topic about what that looks like, but we wanted to include that as a cornerstone of this document, that it doesn't have the power of the legislative or executive or judicial, but it still has some authority.
Okay.
It still is a voice, a mechanism for the people.
To be considered with the 3 of those other branches.
Right.
Once it meets a certain criteria, it triggers kind of a response from the other 3.
Right.
This is the direction that Grand Council is giving. This is what we'd like the 3 of you to consider.
Right.
It carries some weight in that.
Exactly.
Excellent. You had mentioned earlier before we come on the air something about involving the communities again in some of the constitutional piece. And I don't want to get too far in the weeds with it, but tell me a little bit about an outline of what that is.
Well, one of the things we kept hearing as we were working on this was the inclusion of the people.
Okay.
Some way that the community can be involved in the governance of the Eastern Band. So we've included in different areas the inclusion of the community clubs.
Right.
That the community club council is involved in selection of chief justice. It's involved in running grand council.
Okay.
It's, there's a number of different items in the Constitution, this draft of it, that the community clubs and the community club council is involved in.
Good.
The mechanism of the government. And getting the communities involved, getting the people involved in their local community clubs is how we're trying to get the people involved.
So it's a very traditional way of doing business, essentially. I know that in many years ago when I was growing up, I remember the community clubs were meeting regularly.
Mm-hmm.
They were crowded. It was potluck. It was awesome. You got to see everybody. It was something, a spectacle to be seen. And I know it's deteriorated over the years to the point where I visited some community club meetings, and certainly not to knock on any of that, but it's really dwindled down to where you'll get a handful of people that come and show up, and they have some really great topics, really great discussions, but it would be great to see that community involvement again, that buy-in,
Right.
to empower the communities to stand on their feet again, to have say in how our government operates, and I love that piece. Now, having said that, if folks do have an issue with parts of or wording of the Constitution that you guys are presenting, should that stop them from supporting the whole document, or can changes be made once it's enacted and we put this thing in place?
Well, let me preface that with this is a framework. This is not the actual details of how things occur.
Right.
This is an outline and a foundation for the rest of the government.
Right.
Using ordinances and regulations and resolutions that will fill in all the gaps on how things will occur. Having said that, we've laid a foundation and provided this framework, and if people want to adjust this, tweak it, now's the time to do this, because we're in the draft phase.
Right.
When we go...
And I wanted to lead into that. What are some of the next steps? What happens?
So the next step is to get to a final draft to present to Tribal Council for referendum in July.
Okay. Of 2019.
Of 2018.
Oh, wow. This year.
This year.
That's a quick move.
Yeah. Right now it's beginning of May. We've got May and June to get to a final draft.
Good deal.
So we've been spending the last 2 months going to community clubs and going to meetings to educate and to get some feedback. We've been meeting every Monday evening at the Sean Blanton EOC building from 6 to 8, and it's open to everybody.
Okay.
It's,
So
we want that input. We want other folks in and having different set of eyes and different mindsets to come in and look at this. We understand this is not going to be the right answer for everyone.
Right.
We're not going to be able to please everyone. But this is an important document. This is something that we need now.
Right. Absolutely.
We can't keep operating in the way that we've been for the last 30 years.
Yes. Into sometimes seemingly gray areas of the code or law where we don't have certain answers, and we're having to go to court and dispute those things. So how can people get involved? You mentioned every Monday 6 to 8 you guys are meeting at the...
every Monday. Anybody's invited.
Okay.
And what we found with our experiences with going out into communities, it's peaked it. We went to Robbinsville for the first time. We stayed there for 2 hours.
Wow.
I had a great time. We had a tribal council member there. We had community club leaders there. We had several families there.
Good.
And they've asked us to come back.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's been the first experience. And then after that, we went to, what was the next community we went to?
Big Y.
Big Y. And we gave a short presentation there, and now we have plans to meet with Big Y in Wolftown. Lloyd is presented at Big Cove. We're going to be meeting with our own community, which we give a report each time we have a meeting with ours.
Do something more official for them.
Yeah, sure. We need to do something more detailed. But everything's been welcomed with warm
Okay.
response. I can't say that people might have a difference opinion on certain issues or a certain item, or they may want to bring up something, but I don't feel like there's anything breaking it down.
So there's no reason not to at least get behind the document as a whole,
Right.
and say we need this very important moment in time to happen.
Right, because
and
this
we
is
can-
not going to answer everything for
Right.
everyone, but it's going to cover most of the answers
Right.
and get us started. And this is a living document.
Right.
Once we've got the final draft and we present it to council to do a referendum vote, it doesn't mean it's set in stone.
Right. Okay.
That there are clauses in it that addresses amendments
Okay.
to it. What is needed to do an amendment to the Constitution, so that we
Right.
can adjust it and change it as times change.
And as needs change in the community, future generations come along and say, what they did was great. Now we need to look at addressing this particular part of it because it fits a better need for us, and they
Right.
can amend those things. So it's perfectly written in.
So, just real quick, one of the biggest issues right now is the weighted vote.
Okay.
So in this draft, we've gone ahead and said weighted vote, and this is how it will look. But we know this is not the right answer for everyone.
Right.
But this is going to be the easiest answer. This is the one that people are most familiar with
For now.
for now.
And should somebody come down the road and say we need to address that, it's written in how that can be addressed.
Exactly.
So it doesn't mean to derail the whole process because you may not agree with that part. Let's get this set in. It's how we operate now,
Right.
and we'll make those adjustments once we have our document that we can address.
Right.
Not a compact with the state or a contract with the state or
Exactly.
whatever the operating agreement is. Okay.
And like I said, we welcome all the comments.
Right.
What we ask people is to examine all 24 pages.
Right.
And that's what it is. It's 24 pages. I know everybody can read 24 pages.
Yes.
But to examine it and look at it and think about it and to consider this, what does the most amount of good for the most amount of people?
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, that's how you have to look at it.
And I would certainly look at it simultaneously. I'd look at the one we operate on now and say,
Yeah.
what's better for us here?
So-
Because when you look at that, when you lay the governing document down beside a constitution, the weight's right here.
Yeah.
The governing that thing's got so many holes and it's old and dated, and we need to update that thing. This is it. This is the piece to update it with.
So speaking on that, of having the current charter and governing document along with our draft of the Constitution, we've done this on our website. Now, this
Okay.
is website that the volunteers that have been working on this have paid out of their own pocket. This isn't something coming from the tribe.
Right.
And we've tried to remove ourselves from any political perception
right.
that we have that this is a vehicle for council or for the executive
Right.
office, and that we're trying to keep that separation. But we have a website.
Okay.
It's called skadugi.org, where we have the current charter and governing document along with the latest draft
Excellent.
of this Constitution. And at any time, anyone can go out there and look at it. They can download it. They can print it. They can share a link to the website. We've also included a blog
Oh, good.
where people can log in and post
some
comments
comments right
about
there.
what they like, what they don't like,
Yeah.
anything for that to happen. And to register, there's a form at the
Simple
welcome
little
page
form.
that's just name, email address, roll number, and township.
Okay.
The roll number is just so I know, because I'm the one that's actually signing people up, that this is an enrolled member, because we're not wanting outside persons involved in it.
Yep.
Anyone
This is
can
a
look
tribal
at
document.
it, but the comments need to be enrolled members.
Right.
And the township is just for demographics of who.
Great. Gather a little data. Let's see who's involved and
Right.
how we're working. Well, good. I hope and wish for you guys the best. I know this is a huge endeavor. It's happened and it's been attempted many, many times before. I really hope for the best, and I hope that our tribal people look at this and weigh their ideas and make a good decision on whichever way we go. And I'm sure we will. I have a lot of faith in our community, and this is going to be something that I think we can look forward to. Anytime you guys have updates, as we enter the next phases of it, as it gets through council and assuming it hits the referendum point, please come back on. Let's talk again about some of the changes maybe, or some of the updates, or how we need to get people to the polls, because I know there's a minimal number of folks we've got to even have at the polls voting on these things to make it official. And so we'll cross that bridge when we get there, and hopefully we do get there.
Right.
So if there's anything else you'd like to add before we get off the air today?
One other thing, Scott McKee from the Cherokee One Feather did a wonderful article about what we're doing, about the group, and did some research and history about the Constitution.
Good.
If anyone is curious about that, check out the One Feather from April 15th or somewhere mid-April.
Mid-April, One Feather.
Right.
Yeah.
And he did a wonderful article.
Good. Well, excellent. Well, thanks for joining us today. You guys are doing some great work, and I hope to see this all come to fruition for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That'll be it for today. If you're listening at home and would like to comment on the show or ask any questions regarding what we've discussed today, please comment on our EBCI Cherokee Now Facebook page at facebook.com/Cherokee Now. We'll see you again soon. Data Dagahuya.